Hello, I'm Robert, and this is to help a fact checker and science blog in helping people who are scared of many things. And this is for some of you who are getting scared because alien-related hashtags are trending on Twitter, and then if you follow it through, you learn that people are saying that US and Israel are in a secret collaboration with the Galactic Federation of aliens, and they're studying the fabric of space-time in a secret base on Mars. So I want to explain why that's just not possible. And then the claim is that Trump was going to spill the beans and the Galactic Federation stopped him. And then he claims that they're involved in a joint research into space-time on Mars. An obvious response to this is, well, if the Galactic Federation is so powerful they could stop Trump from spilling the beans, then why are they not able to stop him from publishing his book, which he's promoting here? So, I say, though they can stop Trump, they can't stop this author writing a book about them. And either directly or they have a hush-hush meeting with him and explain to him why he shouldn't tell us. So no, that doesn't make much sense. And then you bring some of the other things that they bring up is he doesn't claim to be in contact with the Galactic Federation. He doesn't claim to be speaking for them. And then responding to some of the other points, and Trump's Space Force. Then this is Trump's Space Force. I'll just talk a little bit about that. Then Trump is not putting weapons of mass destruction into space. He's not putting astronauts in space. It's this mini space shuttle that still exists. Although the space shuttle was retired, it's automated space shuttle like mini space shuttle. And the defense they constantly send this up into space. They release some satellite or other from it. It goes around and inspects other satellites and stuff like that. And then they have these spy satellites, and they have many telescopes that are better than Hubble, but they turn around and point at Earth for military use rather than looking into space. And they have the same size of mirrors as Hubble, but may be more capable in order to be able to look at Earth very carefully at very small distance scales. So that's what they're doing. That's what they're looking at there. And I just talk here about how I don't want to go into all that. At least about we actually do have weapons in space. Russia tested space lasers, but they turned out to be very useful. And then there's this gun that is actually in the ISS, but it's actually not in the ISS itself. It'll be in the modules, the Soyuz TMA capsules that return the astronauts from space to Earth. And so they have these guns, and it's basically to scare off wild animals while they're waiting to be rescued. So there are weapons in space. It's not illegal to send weapons into space. It is illegal to put weapons of mass destruction in space. And so that's all that Trump is doing with his Space Force. He's just said, well, we've got this organization as part of these, I think it's part of the Air Force, the United States Air Force. And he just split it off and said, well, we need to make this a special division of its own, and he called it the Space Force. That's all he's done. There are no astronauts going up into space as part of his Space Force. Nothing to do with aliens. It's to do with looking at Earth. It's to do with looking at other humans. That's what his Space Force is all about. It's to do with spy satellites. And so now the next thing is, I'll keep this quite short, but yes. So I'll look at the other things. I put the wrong. Oh yes, that is the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail takes this original thing from the Jerusalem Post and it adds lots of embroidery to it. So they refer to these glitches, declassified UFOs. A UFO just means it seems to be something in the air, but they don't know what it is because it's unidentified. It doesn't mean it's alien. And this is almost certainly just radar glitches. The US has very advanced enhancement of the radar, a software that actually looks in the noise and then it tries to find other aircraft in the noise of the radar, which you can't see with human eyes. And so these little dots flying around that they saw are probably just over-enhanced radar noise. Then if you look at the Utah monolith, then that's just an art installation. And people say, oh, but it looks a bit like the monolith in 2001: A Space Odyssey. What they don't seem to make the connection is that is just science fiction. It was not a documentary about aliens. We know nothing about the aliens and what they might actually do. Just some the director of the film, I should have to look up who it was, but it's Arthur C. Clarke is the author of the story. I forget who the director is, but the director would have just said, well, what can we do? And I think it was Arthur C. Clarke invented the monolith idea. He had a very early short story, and his original idea was actually a pyramid. In his original short story, a shiny pyramid that his explorers found on the surface of the moon, on the top of a mountain, and they went and found it, and then they broke it, and then eventually got broken, and they never found out what its purpose was. But it was alien. So that's the original Arthur C. Clarke story. And then he later on, it developed into this monolith, which was this tall, vertical black thing, no longer a pyramid in shape. But this is just a matter of an artist's or a science fiction writer's imagination. This is not actual aliens. And the props that they made for 2001: A Space Odyssey, obviously anyone can make those props. And you don't have to be aliens to make a prop for a science fiction movie. So there's no reason to suppose that because it resembles, and there's no reason for aliens to say, oh, right, I've watched 2001: A Space Odyssey, so therefore we should create a monolith too. It wouldn't work like that either. So there's no reason to suppose that if something is a monolith, that it's created by aliens. And instead, and the reason people then ask, why would the artists have created these monoliths if they're not identifying who they are? Why don't they say who they are? The reason is because these are illegal installations, and there's quite a long thing of artists just leaving artworks in deserts and in remote places where hardly anyone is likely to find it. Then years later they get discovered, and then you get a news story or something about so-and-so's discovered my art installation. It gives a bit of a boost and a bit of interest, or even they just, someone just takes a few photos, and it's just fun for an artist to do that sort of thing. So then I was going to talk about why we don't fear an alien invasion in any way at all, and then I'll end this. So the reason that I say that we don't need to be scared of aliens is because there's no evidence of aliens ever setting foot on the moon or Mars or anywhere else. So if you look at that, you can see this is, which rover is this? Curiosity. So you can see Curiosity's tracks. There's a small rover travelling across the surface of Mars. And this is taken from orbit by Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter probably. And they have superb, very high resolution cameras there, and they can look at sub-meter scale, as you can see there. So if anything has been traveling, we don't have this high resolution images of the entire surface of Mars, but most of it's somewhat lower resolution, but we can take high resolution surfaces like this of anywhere on Mars, and we have many parts as photographed in this way, and we don't see any tracks anywhere, no sign of and the same on the moon. Then on the moon we can see we see the tracks from, I don't know if we've got a good photograph of that, but we've got I'll just leave that running and while I talk a little bit, turn the sound off. But so the various, you can see there's one of our landers, and there's the tracks on the moon. And we don't have such high resolution cameras in orbit around the moon because there's been much more interest in Mars, but we can still by very careful looking at it and seeing how the shadows change during the day. So you can see that there actually is something there, and then you can just make out the tracks, especially if I magnify it. And there's nothing like the, and there's something that's even better than that. I'm not, but you can see the tracks there. You can see them where the humans went, and there's some that are better than that. Where you can see the tracks really quite clearly. I'm not quite sure why I don't have those images of the actual tracks. That's of course I'm in a private window, and I agree. That's new images of a sharper view of Apollo sites, and I think the probably more since then, but this will do. And you can see there, you can see very clearly, see the tracks, astronaut footprints, and all the details. So I should put that up. Very, very detailed images from space. You can actually see footprints of humans on space, on the moon, and we don't see any footprints of aliens. So it'd be easy enough for the Apollo not to land near to a footprint, but the footprints would remain there for millions and millions of years. So we haven't had aliens walking around on the moon. So if there are aliens in our solar system, then it's clear that they are very, very careful to keep hidden from humans. They just don't want to, where's that thing? Whereby you don't need to fear human alien invasion. And there's nothing, we don't have, if you go and look in space, then there are lots of things up there that could be of quite value to the aliens. If they want metals, then there's an entire Psyche asteroid made of metal. And there's no sign of aliens doing anything with that. It'd be very valuable. Or if they want organics, they could have used Titan. And if you look at the Titan atmosphere, there's even if we fly over Pluto, we don't see any sign of them. And then also, they probably can't eat our food because their biology would be so different. It might even well be poisonous. So, oh yeah, that's just a fake story. So those are, I maybe should expand on that. And then you get people saying, oh, but they were ancient astronauts. But well, I can't look at that evidence, but it's not. It just looks for them. They look like it to us, but to our eyes. But for their eyes, they would have been like, for instance, why would extraterrestrials have big eyes? That's something that humans find very attractive. So it's not surprising that we would make something with big eyes. But why would extraterrestrials have big eyes? And they may well be gods or supernatural figures of some point. Again, that's a bit like the monolith. They made something that to humans look like aliens, but they don't look like what probably an alien wouldn't expect an alien to look like that. And I took quite many things there. But so the point is that there's no sign of any extraterrestrials anywhere. So they could be there, but if they are, they clearly keep themselves very hidden, and they don't want to be seen. And they also clearly have a hands-off policy to the solar system. The solar system is for humans, and they're not going to use anything in the solar system for themselves, or not in a big way anyway. They haven't turned our asteroid belt into habitats. They haven't built huge habitats orbiting. That'd be much more likely than a planet as a place to survive in another solar system, especially because their biology would likely be incompatible with ours. So if aliens wanted to live here, they wouldn't want to live on Earth, because Earth would quite probably be poisonous to them. The extraterrestrial, our biology is very unlikely they could actually eat anything on Earth. And it's quite possible that actually it would be quite hazardous for them. So because you look at different types of alien biology, there's no reason for it to have the same amino acids, to have they wouldn't have the vitamins would mean nothing to them. The proteins wouldn't work in the same way. They wouldn't have the same essential amino acids. They probably wouldn't have the same amino acids at all, or just a few of them. They just wouldn't be able to get the food that they need from terrestrial life. That's very unlikely. And then the technology would likely be way ahead of us, because just the time they'd have to evolve enough to go to another star. We're not at that level yet. But then, as well as that there's no reason for them for their civilization to start at the same time as ours. On Earth, our civilization could have started any time in the last certainly in the last half billion years or so, and it could have, and then evolution could have gone faster, so we could have started a billion years ago, or maybe not until a billion years in the future. But our planet, our entire planet and solar system, then there are other stars that are many. If you look at other sun-like stars, there are many different ages, some younger, some older, and so a planet like ours, it could have evolved around a star 5 billion years older than ours, easily. So it's most likely that if aliens get here, and they evolved hundreds of millions or billions of years ago, and so their technology would have to be very advanced. It would be extraordinary if it was the same level as us, or even just a couple of centuries ahead. So you're talking about highly capable aliens. If they wanted to, if there are aliens here and they wanted to be, they could be completely invisible. If they wanted Earth, they would have had Earth millions of years ago. They've probably been, if they are here already, there's no reason for them. They wouldn't have seen our signal yet going out into space. If they're here already, then they probably got here millions of years ago. And they've just been watching Earth in space and not done anything, because they've done nothing to our solar system. They haven't done anything to Earth. So that is why I think if there are aliens here, we have absolutely nothing to fear from them. And it wouldn't make sense for them to say, okay, we'll wait till they've got a civilization, we'll wait till they develop atom bombs, we'll wait until they're able to go into space, and then we'll invade them. That makes no sense. It's not likely we could do much to stop an alien invasion anyway, if they're a billion years or even 100,000 years ahead of us in technology. But why wait until we've got atom bombs? And why wait until we've got our own rockets? It doesn't make sense. So no, there's no way that there could be aliens in our solar system who want to invade us. It doesn't make sense. And so then also the other thing is, if we look at our own evolution, imagine aliens as being like we are now. You can imagine they want to invade us and harm us in some way, because there's a whole mix. If you look at what we do to the indigenous people, or why we don't need to fear an alien invasion. I'm looking at the wrong one. Right. Now I just got to go back. Oh yes, this one, US and Israel. Here we go. We'll go up a bit. So then this is the last bit. So I'll leave these as links so you can go and explore this in more detail. But then the last thing is, that whole thing about it's not credible, it just got the ability this century. And this is a reconstruction of a possible human ancestor from the year 2013. Reconstruction from our genes and working back. And they've probably been watching us Earth. If they are here, then it's very unlikely that they came here even in the last few billion years. They've probably been watching Earth since we were like that. If there are aliens here. And so, and that's the whole thing about the ridiculous coincidence. This is our sun and the entire galaxy and the vast numbers of stars. And our entire galaxy looks pristine. There's no sign of the huge mega projects that some expansionist alien race would do. And whenever if there are aliens there, I expect when they make contact, they'll be able to share video, sound, and 3D recordings of all the human ancestors right back to the time of the dinosaurs and earlier. And they say, we've been watching you since then, and here is video of what you were like when you were scuttling around the feet of the dinosaurs. And it's very unlikely it's less than, say, 10,000 years ahead of us. So that's the same thing, and much of what I said before. And then this is Titan. So I did cover Titan, and so we've actually sent to go onto the surface of Titan, which is covered with a very thick atmosphere, and it would actually be very attractive because of all the organics for some kinds of extraterrestrial life. They might be able to make great use of the resources there. There's no sign that that's been mined. Here we are. I have got the tracks. Last man-made object. This is the Lunar Cord 2, the last man-made object to travel over the surface of the moon, and there's absolutely no sign of anything alien. And then this is our close-up images of Ultima Thule, which is way, way beyond Pluto, and even out there. You could imagine a possibility where you have aliens that they explore the galaxy, but they stay well, well away from any terrestrial, any planets, and they live out in the outer depths of and we don't even see them there. I mean, it's just one out of hundreds of thousands of millions of trillions of these things. I'm not sure how many there are, but they certainly haven't spread to all of them. But so they could be there, but they'd not be. But they're kind of hidden. They've obviously been hiding all along, and they've got a very strict rule of not making themselves visible to us. As I say, they wouldn't need to fight us, because it doesn't make any sense. And they would be able to reproduce anything they found interesting on Earth. They could reproduce that, and they would probably live in habitats like this. It's very unlikely that they would be still living on planets, because habitats are much easier to build, and you can build vast amounts of living space in habitats in much less time than it takes to, and it's much easier than colonizing a planet. You can design exactly as you like, to exactly the gravity level you like, artificial gravity, exactly the atmosphere you like. You can create a perfect paradise-like habitat in one of these spinning for very large, spinning slowly for artificial gravity. We could build that with 1970s technology for sure. Aliens can do that. And then if you look at the way that we are evolving in the direction of greater biorespect and sustainability. And that is the direction. If you look at where we are now compared with even just a decade ago, we're much more working together. We have much more awareness of the need to preserve species, and of like the Paris Agreement. There was nothing like that before. People working together on climate change, but we did work together on the ozone layer, and on Silent Spring and DDT, and many other things. And so if you project into the future, the direction we are going is less warfare, more working together, more respect for other species, more respect for other humans, and surely in that direction there's more respect for aliens, more sustainable, less need to go into space, because we are managing the Earth in a sustainable way, and if we were in space, then our habitats there would be sustainable. And then as our populations get more capable, then our populations are naturally levelling off and even rapidly decreasing. Like in South Korea, there's an average of less than one person in the next generation from the previous generation. So if you project that forward, and we have space colonies, and they are even more easier place to live. If you have very high tech, and then if it did become sustainable to live in a space colony, which I think it's not a good place for agriculture unless you have a really big, very self-contained, sustainable colony. If that's possible, it can also be possible on Earth. In that future, then you would expect the birth rate to keep going down. So it's not likely that that could be a natural way in which aliens could become sustainable and not need to expand into the galaxy. And if they did, they would be sure to do it in a way that is safe both for themselves and for the galaxy. And so if we do get aliens come up, if they are in our solar system, then that's exactly what we would expect. That the ET type of alien is far more what we would expect than these sort of monsters from space that make these movies that people like. And we've protected great whales and many species. We learned to work together. And I say that it's E.T. I think, although it's a bit sentimental, but I think that's much more what an extraterrestrial would be like. And so that this is the direction of sustainability for the future. And so anyway, I've said enough. I want to keep this video quite short. So that is why I personally, I think it's unlikely that there are aliens here. I think that's the simplest solution. Is the reason we don't see them, the reason they haven't made contact with us, is simply because they're not here. And they may well exist on distant stars in the galaxy, and then if they are there, then maybe sometime, and they may even go around the galaxy from time to time, but they're not expansionists and trying to fill the entire galaxy. I think that's very unlikely, because that's quite dangerous for them too, because if the galaxy is filled with their kind, then they could develop all sorts of technologies and strange philosophies and then come back and attack them. So, like the what you call them, some of the monstrous things in Star Trek, the Borg, for instance. You don't know what's going to come out of your future if you expand out to build the galaxy. So they would be very careful about how they colonize the galaxy, both for protecting the life that they would greatly respect, because they're by respect, to protect other species, and also to protect themselves. So I think that there may well be species in our galaxy already, and it's also possible that they police this. So they could have sent some kind of a probe to every star in the galaxy. If you have a self-replicating probe, you can do that quite quickly. We are not that far from that technology. It may be a century or two from now. We'd be able to send one probe to Proxima Centauri. It would make a copy of itself there using materials there, and go to every single, and then go to other stars, and then go to other stars, and go to other stars, and soon, within 1 million years, the entire galaxy has got one of these probes around every star, and they would be designed in such a way that it can't evolve. It can't. The replication would be made very secure. So we would develop how to do that. We can already see how to do that in principle. So after a lot of experience with self-replicators, we would then make a self-replicator that is very secure and very safe, can't evolve into anything, and it go around every star, and then if anyone even so much as peeps at it, it destroys itself. So it can't be co-opted by alien species. So that might be one way that they could keep an eye on the galaxy. I think that might be more likely than actually being here. That is quite feasible. And then they could possibly have some way of policing it, that if a civilization becomes very expansionist and starts heading off into space, then, and it looks like it's going to try and colonize the galaxy, then one of these things would just wake up and say, "Hi, I'm here, I've been watching you for the last 1 million years," and a robot, not an actual alien, and say, "What you're doing is not nice, don't do it. We don't think it's good because it's of the risk to other species in the galaxy," and or say something like, "What are your plans? How are you going to protect the galaxy when you spread out into space?" And then if we don't have good plans to show to them, then they would probably be able to enforce it in some way, not attack us, but just prevent it from happening with their very advanced technology. So that, I think, is not impossible. But I think their concern wouldn't be about us, it would be about what we do to the galaxy. And the solar system would be for us to use however we like. But if we start spreading throughout the galaxy, and if there are alien species there, then there might well be other ideas than ours about what are the best ways to do that. And they would likely be millions of years of technology ahead of us. So I think that's not impossible, but I don't think aliens would care at all about what we're doing in our solar system, and if there were any here, they might well make contact at some point and try to help us and educate us and advise us about how to deal with some of our problems. I think that's far more likely for alien life. I don't think alien invasion doesn't make sense in my view. Looking at the direction we're going, direction more biorespect and so on, then I think aliens would be like ET. They would have a great deal of biorespect. They would be very careful about protecting the galaxy. They would have a great deal of recognition of human rights, of alien rights, of rights of other intelligent creatures, and they might well be quite careful about how they contact us. But I don't think they would have any malevolent intent. I don't see that as being likely at all. So I mean, if you think there is in the solar system, I don't know. I mean, you can't disprove it, but I think they would keep, if they were here, I think they would keep themselves very hidden, and they would have technology to be able to go and look at anything on Earth, just with nanoscale robots or something. And so this idea of UFOs, whatever UFOs are, I'd be very surprised if they're actual aliens. They would have to deliberately want to be seen. They want to kind of tease Earth with themselves. Like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, of these people that put little beeping things on their heads and they go around the UFO and they tease the terrestrials on Earth. I mean, that's the only way. And for some reason they're kind of deliberately teasing us, and that seems a little bit juvenile and a bit unlikely. And I just thought that you've got to ask from their point of view, why would they want to be seen? Because there's no way we would see them unless they wanted to be seen. There's no way they would crash unless they wanted to crash. This would be very easy landing on a planet. It would be like for us just cycling into town or something. And there's no way they would crash, and they wouldn't send themselves to the surface. They would send avatars. There's no way that in a reconnaissance mission they'd send themselves to the surface. It makes no sense. So these whole things about like they captured aliens, there's no way that we could capture an alien. It makes no sense. They just would not be, they would just not come to Earth in such a way that they could be captured. They would send avatars, and the avatars would likely robotic avatars that were controlled from space, and they were just self-destruct if we tried to do anything to them. Just not explode, they probably just disintegrate into dust, and that's all that's left of them. And just you're talking to this avatar, and then someone raises a gun to try and shoot it, and they say, "Oh, these are aggressive aliens. We'd better go to Plan B," and it would just disintegrate, and all they'd see there is dust, and then they'd try again in some other way. So they wouldn't let their technology come into the hands of humans, not unless they wanted to. And if they wanted to, then they would say to us, "Look, we've got this technology that will be useful to you." It would all be entirely within the aliens deciding what to do. And so that's why I find this idea that UFOs could be aliens, I find that very implausible. And because I don't think it'd be so juvenile as to just tease us in that way, and it makes no sense from their point of view to do that. So I think UFOs are either technology that by other people on Earth, drones and things, or they are natural phenomena, or they're just mistakes, like radar glitches and things like that. And then of course you get people who misidentify Venus as a UFO and things like that. So whatever they are, and then there could be natural phenomena that we don't understand and that we don't know about yet. That is also possible. But it doesn't make sense that an alien civilization far ahead of us would produce these UFOs, unless they wanted to tease us, and I don't see them likely to do that. So, anyway, I hope this helps. So just maybe give you some ideas to think about, and at least be less scared about aliens if they are here. Then certainly, I think we're absolutely certain that they have a great deal of respect for us, and they're not going to be doing anything, just as we have respect for other species and other and for other species and for other and for and for other humans in different cultures, then they would be like that, but much more so than us. Evolved far into our future, where it's just unthinkable not to have that respect. That's what I think aliens are like.